is a small is. Welcome to the Star Wars Collectors Archive podcast, hosted by Skye Payne, Fudd, and Stephen B. Danley. Skye and Steve chucked the ATST driver straight out the cockpit in this episode, which reveals a shocking conspiracy about the character. We take a look at Broc's Hardcopies, Sculpts, we talk about alternate photo art, lots of beautiful modern, and some weird Australian serial madness. Plus, come on y'all, what the hell is a Mirr-a-Kit? All this, and not much more, on Kivecast 119.
Wampa Wampa!
Welcome to Kivecast 119.
And in 118 other episodes, Steve, I've never accidentally recorded saying anything other than Wampa Wampa. And I just started saying, well, all right, like a cheesy drive time DJ.
Yeah. I mean, you're not using that too much with your YouTube channel, right? It's not
maybe I have my, you know what the term is that my son's friends both think it's cool that I'm on YouTube and like to make fun of him as well. So the term they always apply is niche internet micro celebrity.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's got multiple components there. Yeah, but I think they all work. Yeah.
But I think you and I, Steve, are niche internet micro celebrities. I mean, I think we have been for the 11 years we've been doing this show.
Yeah. If not for anything else, other than it's just been 11 years and we haven't stopped yet. So.
Yes, amazingly persistent, and we finally made it, Steve, to @st driver, and I cannot wait. It's just great because I'm finally giving up, Steve. I accept that it is an @ driver. I get it, that's what they say. And so what we have here is the @st. We're just following the same logic, and it's the @st driver. Steve, I am actually somehow excited to talk about this figure, even though it has to be in the bottom 3 of all figures of all time for me.
I had a feeling it was. I feel like it probably is for most. And, like usual, I'm pleasantly surprised. I knew I was going to be excited about this figure, but I thought it might be tough to make others excited. Hopefully we do. That's my hope. But I loved this figure as a kid. It was probably because it was the only Imperial figure I had other than the Death Star gunner, which is the exact same figure but in black with different helmets. So it's like I just basically had these two guys as my Imperials.
Wait, the ATST driver and the Imperial gunner are the same figure?
They're very similar. I don't know. They're not identical, but they're essentially the same.
Well, maybe we should put a little pin in that and come back to that when we start talking about the sculpt and the development of the figure. So I don't know. I don't think I ever had this thing. I think if I did, I would have just ignored it. I mean, I had the @st, the actual vehicle itself.
Yeah, and it's much more. Substantial and cool compared to the drivers.
And I think we're going to be talking a little bit about the actual vehicle of @st.
Yes, the @st.
Not a ton. Like I think we'll probably end up doing some kind of vehicle smorgasbord when we finally get through all the droids and Ewoks. Yeah. I feel like we'll kind of apply the same approach that we did with the B-wing pilot, where it has a presence. You can't ignore it, the @st, but we'll try and not go too far. But I did realize something today that makes me like this character. And in case you don't know, I am talking about, of course, the ATST driver. That's the joke, which I've already driven into the ground, like Chewbacca spiking the football of an ATST driver out the cockpit. But you would think that as a Chewbacca fan, the reason that I love ATST drivers is because, realistically, the only character that Chewbacca really messes up, is the ATST driver. You don't really see him go loose. I mean, he sort of like messes up a stormtrooper, I guess, on the at the Bespin gantry and all that. But this moment in this movie is really huge, and I think
it is.
I think what we should do, Steve, is we should just start off talking about this moment in the movie before we even get to the figure. Let's just do this because. Who the hell cares, Steve? I can already tell this is going to be a quick episode. So let's talk about this moment and what makes it great. So what do you want to tell me about it, Steve?
So Well, so I'm glad you brought this up because when I think about the ATST drivers, they just account for my two favorite Star Wars on-screen deaths.
Okay.
And they're like back to back almost. I mean, not quite, but essentially. So yeah, you have the Chewie moment, of course, which I think I have a couple more things to say about that. But
yes,
right at the beginning of the battle, you have that one that Leia just takes out. It's just kind of daydreaming in his little crow's nest as the battle is raging on beneath him.
I don't even remember this scene.
Oh, you gotta go back and play it. He just makes this. Literally, the battle starts. There's chaos everywhere. Leia, they're all running around. She just shoots her pistol up into the air, and it cuts to this ATST driver just standing there like a little, like a little scout, and he has no idea what's going on, and he just gets taken out by her gun, which is just. And he makes. Wow. Yeah, he also has like a classic, very unique, cheesy yell as he dies, similar to the guy that Chewie throws off of the out of the cockpit. But yeah, to me they're like the quintessential like 1980s Lucasfilm cheesy bad guy deaths. Like they could be swapped out with Nazis and Indiana Jones, like the way those guys tend to die.
Well, when I was a kid, that was my absolute favorite thing was people being shot. In particular, people being shot from high up. Like I would, whenever I had my action figures, I put them on the top of the couch, and I'd have a figure on the bottom of the couch, shoot it, and have them fall down. That was just, I thought, the coolest thing.
Yeah,
which isn't quite what Chewie does. Now, I want to talk about this scene for many reasons. I mean, this is probably my favorite scene on an emotional level in all of the Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
So this is why. So. I went through a divorce, as all listeners of the show will know. You were there with me, and my kids always associated themselves with Ewoks. They have the Ewokseum. I have the Chewseum, and I've been collecting on the side for them as well. And things have not always been very easy with the kids' birth mom and them. They've had a lot of hard times. So there's often been times where I've sort of had to be kind of like protecting them and carrying them. So the scene where the Ewoks hold on to Chewbacca's leg
yes.
and swing, I understand that it's a Tarzan joke. I don't care about that. To me, it's this beautiful moment of the big guy taking care of the little guys as they have to take care of business, and reaching into the cockpit and taking out the gray that is trying to oppress the green, these imperial oppressors, and throwing them out and then taking over the entire machine was this beautiful symbolic moment.
Yeah.
And I've been lucky enough to pick up 3 separate storyboards from that scene. There's still maybe 1 or 2 that are missing, but if you're out there and you're like me, and you've gone through a divorce and you ever feel like you have to really be there for your kids, this is a great scene, because the best part is the Ewoks start moving the damn ATST before Chewbacca's even ready. And that bit where he's like he almost falls off, that's a great metaphor for parenting. Like he comes down and like they're trying to drive the thing and he like swats away their paws, but ultimately it's the love and the bond and the protection between them that keeps them going.
Yeah, no.
Which leads into this discussion of the storyboard, Steve, which I didn't even, we don't talk about props on this show.
Not often, no.
Because we too poor to collect props. And it's a weird thing, because there's a lot of storyboards out there. And some of them are all framed and nice from the prop store. I have 2 like that. Some are just loose, like the one I'm going to show now came from a seller in England. And it's just Xerox, and you just have to take it on faith that these were actually used on screen. They don't usually cost that much, so it's not the end of the world. A couple $100 mistake as opposed to a couple $1,000 mistake.
Yeah,
but this is one of my favorite ones because it's Chewbacca on top of the ATST throwing the pilot out.
Oh.
Except, Steve,
who
is he actually throwing out?
Not the pilot?
No, he's throwing out the biker scout.
Oh, okay.
So I have a whole new set of theories about the ATST driver and why it exists.
Okay.
Who drives the AT-AT?
All right, so, I mean, if you go by what we see on screen, you got the 2 white donned, they look like TIE pilots, but they're in the white and gray, and then you have Veer's kind of commanding the AT-AT.
Right, the AT-AT commander, right?
Right.
So,
right.
I believe that is the idea. The original idea for Return of the Jedi, maybe this is in Rinsler's book, R.I.P. I think that it was always intended that the biker scouts were going to be the pilots of the AT-STs. That it doesn't make sense to have TIE fighter pilots be cool guys in helmets, have AT-AT pilots be cool guys in helmets, and then have AT-ST pilots be lamos in goofy helmets with goggles. So then this got me thinking, Steve. I'm running somewhere with this.
Okay, all right.
What's the difference between an AT-ST driver and an AT-AT commander in terms of how they look?
Well, yeah. So that brings us to the outfit and where that all comes from. And I hate to. I don't want to rain on your theories too much.
Okay.
But and this is a little bit behind the scenes, but I think really. Because there are some sketches of what look to be more like the drivers from the movie in like designs and things like that for the vehicle, like the updated design for the walker. But the design or the costume really came about because they just needed more variety and more guys in different outfits when the Emperor arrived. So they took the gray suit that already existed from the guys from the first movie. They put the helmet from the AT-AT commander, or slightly modified, and then they took the gloves of TIE pilots. So he's like an amalgamation of multiple leftover Imperial characters, and what you end up with is pretty lame. But it's I think they just needed more. They just needed more bodies and outfits.
Steve, I'm afraid I brought an umbrella for no reason. There's been no rain on my parade, Steve. The parade will continue straight down Main Street with a Grogu balloon, okay?
Great.
The key, the correct answer is, what's the difference between an AT-AT commander and an AT-ST driver? Yeah. It's that the goggles are on the helmet.
The goggles are on, yeah.
And the goggles are on the face. That's it.
That's it, yeah.
Very clearly. The character of the AT-ST driver is just what the AT-AT commander was. You know, a higher up. The higher up you go in the Imperial Army, the more your face is seen, right? So the idea of taking the goggles off of, because there are goggles on the AT-AT driver commander helmet.
Right, they're just up.
They've just been moved over the face. They've added a chin strap. And why did they do that, Steve? Why did they do that? Because when they were filming the movie, they thought, hey, wouldn't it be a laugh if we put the director and the producer in the movie?
Yep.
So,
there you have it.
Robert Watts and Richard Marquand, are those the only cast cameos in all of the original trilogy, Steve?
So, there aren't many, but one I think I knew about this years ago, but I kind of was reminded about it. It's also in Jedi, but Ben Burt plays the Imperial commander that gets chucked with the bomb or whatever, and he falls into the shaft. That's Ben Burt. But beyond that, I mean, in terms of like higher up, like filmmaking type credit people, it doesn't happen too often.
Yeah, Gary Kurtz isn't smoking a bong with that weird lizard in the cantina, right?
Exactly, yeah.
There's a lot of spots where this could have happened. Yeah. But I think they just thought it would be fun to have this character, instead of it be another helmeted figure, another cool chance for an actually cool figure, they demoted what would have been the AT-ST commander and made it the AT-ST driver, and made it unlike any other pilot in the entire Empire, and threw him in the cockpit.
I like that. Yeah, right? Parade is on. It's all good. The storm is cleared. So
that really is what I think it is. I really think that's the genesis of it, and it is neat, and that's maybe why I do like the AT-ST driver. Yeah. Because I am very into representations of directors in toys, right? Like, hit me up. I want to get the new Werner Herzog toy. I know he has a character on The Mandalorian, but I have like multiple Werner Herzog autographs that I got in 2003. You know, I went to go see him speak at the Harvard Film Archive in 1996. I'm a big Werner Herzog fan, as much as I'm a Star Wars fan. I love that there's going to be a figure of him.
It's great.
I the first time I've ever gone online and ordered a new toy and like waited for the time to turn is they're releasing a new George Lucas Stormtrooper where he's like old.
So are they?
I'm getting that. I have first shots of the George Skye-Ku figure and first shot of the George Lucas as a Stormtrooper.
Yeah,
I'm all about directors in toy form.
So you got to get the. Do you have a vintage ATST driver at all? So
probably not. I mean, I might have had one when I was a kid.
Yeah. So you need to get the Mark I figure.
So that's the question: is it Mark I or is it Watts?
That's a good question. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look and see. I don't know. That's a tough call.
I mean, it's just general white guy with the chin strap.
Yes. Yeah. But
I guess
it's funny though.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I guess I don't think we'd ever know. I think it's fair to say that it is Mark Wand, and also one of my storyboards is signed by Robert Watts, and that always kind of bothered me. But now that I realize he was actually in the scene, it doesn't bother me so bad.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool.
So there's a thing in favor of AT-ST driver, and Steve, I don't want to bolster my point even further, but I'm afraid that I have to.
Okay.
Would you call the battle on Hoth a success for the Empire?
I mean, I guess you kind of have to in a general sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're telling the annals,
it's a blowout.
Right. If you're telling the annals of the Empire, that's one of their greatest victories, right?
It is. Yeah.
That's like the time the Yankees, beat the Red Sox 22-7 in game. I forget if it was 3 or 4, the 2004 American League Championship Series. It was one of those two games. It's like an absolute decisive victory.
Yeah.
Do you know, Steve, who this figure was supposed to be? Who this character was supposed to be before Marquand and Watts put themselves into the movie?
No.
It's supposed to be General Veers, Steve.
Oh, they were going to have that actor come and reprise his role?
How the hell is General Veers going to go from a general, essentially Stonewall Jackson of the Empire,
yeah.
and now he's going to be driving a chicken walker? You've been promoted to chicken driver?
Chicken driver.
They wouldn't do that. That'd be like, seriously, they'd be saying, Stonewall Jackson, thank you so much for winning whatever the hell battle you won, you traitor. What we're going to do, we're going to honor you, and you're going to be digging latrines for the next battle. We're just going to put you there. It doesn't make sense. The AT-ST driver is meant to be higher up in the chain of command.
Yeah,
that happened to be that he wasn't.
That tracks. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that's too bad. Yeah, it was
and it emphasizes the idea that the AT-ST driver is just the AT-AT commander with his goggles down. That really is all that he is.
Sans armor too. Yeah, he just has his fluffy pants and shirt, and he's all good to go.
Yeah. Wow. Well, see, Steve, I got really into it.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't even know that Veers thing, did you?
It didn't come to mind. It sounds familiar now that you mention it, but no, it definitely escaped my memory. So that's a cool little factoid. Yeah.
So I think what we should do now, I've been doing a lot of talking. I don't know if it's even time for a Skye-Ku. I don't know. Should we talk more about the actual figure itself and how it looks? I don't really have that many opinions about it.
Yeah, I mean, to get back to the awesome Chewie scene, I'll say one of the other reasons it was one of my favorite figures. I didn't have the walker growing up, but I really like to mimic the pose of his flailing body as he's getting chucked by Chewbacca. And really? the way that the figure is, the legs are they have a little give to him. So and they're also really straight. And it's clearly it looks like a dummy that he's throwing almost. And I don't know, that was the one thing I loved about the figure is you could kind of pose him as this flailing guy that Chewbacca or whoever could chuck around.
So it's a figure that you can really chuck.
Yes, it's a figure you can chuck for sure. Yeah, definitely.
All right, well, I have a lot more to talk. We have even more to talk about with Chewbacca and with the ATST driver, because obviously there's only one really important ATST driver, and that's Chewbacca.
Yes.
But now that you've said a little something, why don't we just talk about my Skye-Ku? This isn't tied into that other stuff, Steve, about the whole point, because I actually came up with that right now while we were talking. So I acted like it was a big thing I've been sitting on for a long time. I still stand behind it. I think it's one of the stronger points I've made in over 300 hours of broadcasting we've done here. But this is more just about the obvious drabness and just the imperial grayness of the ATST commander. ATST gray, sunglasses, chin strap, helmet, lost among the green.
Very good, very good. I
made it sunglasses because they're not really goggles. I think it's much funnier if you imagine it as like you know how little kids think they look really cool in sunglasses?
Yes.
You won't know yet because Eleanor isn't quite old enough. But when Eleanor is like 6 or 7, she's going to put on a pair of sunglasses and be like, okay, I know you don't, I'm actually still your daughter. You think I'm some kind of international world superstar, but I'm not. I'm actually just your daughter. And then she'll do the poses and the whole thing. There's something very dark helmet-ish about the ATST driver.
There absolutely is, yeah.
There's something very Skye. When I was like 5 or when I was like 7 or 8, I used to watch. So you're a little bit too young for this, Steve. But there were these movies that you could only get at the video store. They were all about ninjas. And I please comment on some Facebook or something if you've watched these movies too. They were like direct to video, super B movies, all about ninjas.
I feel like I've seen a couple of these much later after the fact. What was the series called? Do you know? Was it just
I don't even know.
American Ninja War?
Maybe
American Ninja or something?
We just go down to the video smith and we just get whatever movie had the word ninja in it, which worked great right up until Beverly Hills Ninja. But we just get whatever movie had ninja. I think my favorite was called Return of the Ninja. So I was obsessed, and so I would get dressed up in my living room where I'd put on like a winter coat, a scarf over my face, sunglasses. I'd like tuck my pants into my socks, and I would just do like fake karate moves around my living room, and I would tell my parents that I was a ninja. That is how cool the ATST driver looks. I don't know what those movies were called.
There was a series of them, and I feel like there was one dude who played the main ninja for a long period of that. I just can't remember. A friend of mine recommended them.
Well, that's kind of the beauty of. I'm not going to get all nostalgia-ish because we all know nostalgia leads to darkness. Nostalgia leads to fascism. That said, and if you need me to explain that more to you, please have a talk with me, a conversation at Celebration. I'd love to explain to you how nostalgia is a direct line to fascism. Now let's continue on with our vintage Star Wars collecting podcast.
Yes.
There is something about the way kids watch movies where I must have watched those movies 5 times each. I don't remember the name of a single character. I don't remember a single plot point. I just remember that I would just watch them and I just wait for, of course, the ninja star to fatally wound somebody.
Yes.
When you're a kid, you don't understand how improbable it is to be fatally wounded by a little piece
by
of
a ninja
metal.
star, yeah.
There's a pretty good Adam Carolla joke about that where he describes it like, ow, what did you just hit me with? It's pretty funny.
Throwing stars never not worked in a movie.
Yeah, but in real life, what's the
I think it has a much lower batting average in real life. And they work every time. You have to take the guard out silently. Let me tell you what I would sound like if I got hit with a throwing star. What the f***? Oh, shoulder. Oh, goddamn, am I pissed? Who the f*** did this? Oh, that's what it would sound like. It would not be and I'd hit the ground. There'd be a lot of pissing and moaning. Steve, come here.
I'm a rental cop.
God damn. Oh, just had the uniform clean. Just had it pressed. Just got it back from the... God damn it, there's another throwing star. It would be the exact opposite of what you're trying to attempt with the throwing star.
If I ever had to throw one, I would throw it underhand and I would miss.
I feel like almost all the ninja tactics...
Like nunchucks.
Nunchucks be the same. that hurt! But this sucks! What? Oh, my elbow! There'd be a lot of noise.
All right, Steve. Well, we were going to have Broc,
Yeah.
C.W. Walker, on the show.
Yes. Yeah.
But we're not, because I want to record today. I don't want to record tomorrow. So this never works. But are you going to do a Broc accent the whole way through?
Oh. I don't know, man. I can't. No. I can't.
The only way to get into a Broc accent is just to say theater.
Yes, that's.
And then say theater and might could in a sentence, and then you're all set.
Yes, yeah, I think that could work. I don't think I have it in me tonight. But,
no, okay.
I am gonna try and present some really great stuff in his stead.
So he has a spectacular collection of.
He does, yeah.
I'm gonna call them the Atst Commanders. I'm just gonna do it.
Switch it on up, yeah.
Yes. So what is it that we have this group photo, and you just want to take it stage by stage, take it frame by frame bit?
I figured what we could do, rather than go through every single thing, the photo on its own, it basically just says figure development. If you look at the photo, that is the development of the figure.
Right.
But what I thought we could do is just touch on a few of the most significant things, like the birth of the Atst Commander. So first, I thought we should maybe touch on the only surviving piece of the original sculpt. So the torso is the only piece that remains as far as we know. And it was done in acetate, that really hard alternative to wax, by Bill Lemon, who I think at this point, if you've been listening to the podcast, he's kind of a famed historical figure that we've talked about a lot. But he was known for using this kind of unforgiving material and crafting these characters that are a little more rigid.
That was subtractive as opposed to additive, so that made it particularly difficult, because you could just keep adding like you can with wax. You actually had to cut everything out, right?
Right. So what Broc has is the torso. Which another thing about Bill Lemon's torsos is that they're always done in two parts, two halves. With the figure's limbs, instead of connected to a single solid piece with pins, they're connected with these little discs. So you'll see that in the ATSD driver's torso sculpt. And then what often happens with his as well is that they would add little bits of wax to kind of soften it up a little bit. So there's a little bit of detail that's been added in wax to the uniform. So yeah, that's basically it. It's made in acetate. There's just the torso that's in two halves that survives, and then what would come from that?
Now wait a second. Yeah. We should probably talk about, because at this point it's probably good for us to realize that there's a good chance, based on Ron Salvatore's research, that any sculpt that we have in part might be in part because it used to be in whole.
True.
So, do you think it's possible that you said that the Death Squad, the Death Star Commander the Death Star Gunner is basically the same figure? Do you think there's a chance that might be where some of the sculpt went and then it was built on, or did that never happen with acetate, because you can't really mess around with acetate like that? Or were other parts of the sculpt done in wax? Did they mix those things together? God damn, we really need to have Ron on here.
Yeah, well, the one thing to keep in mind, and we'll get into this in a second, is when you see the molds. So the molds would be what are made from this wax sculpt, right? So you have the silicone that's poured over the sculpt, and that makes the mold in two halves. And then and this is done for each piece. So the other pieces of the mold, so the arms and the legs, they have that disc component that the other part does. So I don't know. I could totally see them repurposing the limbs maybe for the gunner, I could totally see that making sense. I haven't really looked at them that closely, honestly, and I think maybe when we get to the gunner, we can have a revisit.
Okay.
But yeah.
But wait, so then Broc also has the molds that were made from the sculpt?
Yes. Yeah. So this would be the next phase. So
there's just not a lot of these molds out there, Steve.
There are not. Yeah. No. There are not many.
Is this the first vintage mold we've ever shown from a not fake Argentinian mold?
No, I think we talked about, maybe it was Wicket with Todd Chamberlain. I think this is the first one that's for a Bill Lemon figure, though, right, if I remember right. But yeah, so I think the fact that you have the next piece here, it's pretty nice to see the progression, because each of these, so there's a mold or a set of molds for each piece. So you have for each arm, for each leg, you have the torso. The head mold is not around, I guess. I don't think that made it. At least it's not with the rest of these. So what the mold would then be used for is to create the urethane hard copy prototypes. So for the driver, that's done in terms of what Broc has. It's that green Dynacast, which is the next phase. And he has a complete figure in Dynacast, which is pretty cool. And it's nice that you can see how perfectly it fits into all these molds. And also that construction that's got the two halves with the discs, that carries on into the hard copies as well.
Now, I need to say something, Steve.
Okay.
So, I have spent a lot of time on this podcast talking about how I don't care about hard copies. And so I sold a couple things this year. And I sold them for a good profit. And I don't do well with PayPal in my in my bank account. So I spent a lot of money. And mostly what I got was things for my kids. And they're going to be things for my kids for Christmas. Now, they're not going to know how great these gifts are until they're older. And they may never know. I don't know. I'm just going to say it because there's no way anyone's going to listen to this and ruin my kids' birthday gifts, right? So so eventually I will show you. I commissioned some nice art, which I'll talk about later.
Oh, all right.
But also, I thought, I sort of plumbed around trying to figure out, because my son knows that Clone Wars is going to be the thing that his generation is going to care about, right?
Yeah, definitely.
If you want to invest in Star Wars for the future, you can ignore the sequel trilogy, you can ignore The Mandalorian. The way to really get like the Zoomers like nostalgia going, it's all about Clone Wars. So I asked him what's his favorite character, what's his favorite clone from Clone Wars, because that was his favorite thing to play with, and he said it was the Godzilla clone, the one Goji, the one in the Godzilla episode. So I happened to look around, and I didn't look around. I asked David Quinn, because he's like a master of modern prototypes. And he put me on and told me that there was a hard copy for sale from someone from China who has a bunch of modern hard copies. And, it was, I don't know, $600, $700. It was pretty expensive. But I thought, okay, this can either go one of two ways. One, my son will never be a collector at all, and this will just be some weird thing that he doesn't care about. And some, future Jorgulius will track him down and give him money for it, okay? Or he will care a little bit, and he'll be so psyched that I got him the best possible thing you could possibly get for his favorite figure from the entire line,
Yeah.
So I got the hard copy. It's painted and everything. And then I realized, Steve, I've been doing this show for 10 years, and I still don't really understand what a hard copy is. So do you know what I did, Steve? I listened to Dave's effing podcast. Can I just tell you how good it is? I don't listen to other podcasts. I can't do it. I'm too up in my head. But I'm like, let me just give this a shot. Because I've had Ron Salvatore, Gus Lopez, Todd Chamberlain. I had everybody in the goddamn world who knows anything about hard copies explain it to me directly, while I just sat here on the other side, like Homer Simpson, telling them that it's a ring toss game. But I was able to listen to Star Wars prototypes and toys. I still don't know the name of the damn podcast, but it doesn't matter. Star Wars toys and prototypes, right?
I think it's prototypes and production.
Right. How do I do it, Steve? I'm giving the highest compliment I could possibly give, and I still insult it.
No, it's...
But I listened to his thing all about hard copies, and it was very clear. And so I feel, when certain information finally sets in. So I think if that was the first time I'd listened to anything about this, Dave's podcast, I would have had to listen to it like 3 or 4 times. Whereas this time, it was like the lesson finally set in. I finally understood how precisely it was made, the 4% ratio difference, why they're 4% larger. Like, it wasn't totally new to me, but it was crystallized in a specific way. And and that's where I learned that modern prototypes go directly from a computer to a hard copy.
Yeah.
So that means I literally could not have gotten him a better figure representation.
Yeah, unless...
And then I waited in the mail to get it, and then I got it, Steve. Mm-hmm. And then I got it. Like, I get it. It's awesome. It's like cool. It's like it looks a little bit different, and it's a little bit bigger, and like the excitement people get from hard copies, I finally understand it.
It set in, yeah.
So I think
just like that urethane set in, Skye.
I might just pick one up. I don't know. How much do they go for these days? Like $700, $800?
Oh man.
Yeah. So all of that is a way to say, if you've ever listened to this podcast and you still don't know the prototype process, it's not your fault. But fortunately, we help to inspire somebody who explains it really clearly.
Much better than we
yes.
we would usually. Yeah. No, that's absolutely true.
So that's my finally coming to enjoy the prototypes. That's how it finally happened. So it's just Star Wars prototypes and production. It's not that hard, Steve. It's not that hard.
It's not. Yeah.
Prototypes and production. Okay.
Yeah. We got it.
So what does Broc have after the hard copy?
So after the hard copy, he has, so that was the unpainted one. And then the next would be a painted one, which is like the one you got for your son. So that's one that'd be used in photography and other such purposes. And then beyond that, he's got a Protomold, which I'm not even going to, we're just going to say listen to or don't listen to our episode on Protomold. Listen to David's whenever he...
No, our Protomold episode was good. Don't ask me what a Protomold is, but our episode was good. Because Ron explained it.
Yeah, at this point, it was a common phase in the Jedi figure development. So that he has that, and then he has a first shot, which is right before production, and then he's pretty much got the entire lifespan of the figure, which is it's really great. It's really impressive to see, and I thought that's fairly good coverage of the figure, but I think, like you, I know you like your photo art and your 2D, and there's some interesting things about that too that I thought we could touch on.
All right, we'll touch on, Steve.
Okay, well, so I did not really realize this until just the other day, looking closely, but and just looking for other random stuff with the ATSD or the driver on it, but the image that serves as the primary photo art for the standard Kenner card back, that photo has Chewbacca painted out with little leaves. So it is a picture, a still photo of Chewbacca atop the walker, and he's been painted out. So it's the original untouched image is present on some other weird vintage oddities. It's like on a weird, I think it's a notebook from Mexico where you see the unaltered image. It's on one of our favorite pocket calendars from Hungary. They took an image that has Chewbacca in it, and they painted it out with little leaves to just have the walker. That's the card.
So that means that I should really track down the original photo art and then un-airbrush it, and then it can become a Chewbacca thing.
Just scrape off that paint, and you're good.
Yeah, it really is. I don't know how I never noticed that before. I guess I just always thought, oh, whatever, it's just some picture of a model. You just don't think about it. But it's in this beautiful scribe, cuadernos y papeles.
That's one of my favorite cuadernos. One of my favorite Spanish words.
Yes, it's a very good one. It's not as good as the word for refrigerator, frigorifico, but it is quite good.
It is. It's one of the better ones. Yeah.
This is such a fascinating thing that I never thought about. That you have C-3PO. I mean, you have R2-D2 airbrushed out of the C-3PO artwork.
Right.
But this is really driving home the point that I was teasing to make. This really makes you understand that the ATST driver is Chewbacca. I mean, he's the most. That's how lame the ATST driver is. He's not even the most famous of the ATST drivers.
Yeah, that'd be an awesome custom, is to get the unaltered picture and then just slap Chewbacca on there and just keep it labeled ATST driver.
Right.
Yeah, that's yeah. I don't know. It's funny that these little discoveries that I feel like I should have known that for a long time. I just never looked that closely, and I guess that's what's fun about these podcasts is that I'm just looking closely at all this stuff that who knows how much time we spend looking at all these things. But
because a lot of the photo art, a lot of the work for the people down there at CYB who are doing all of the photo art for the Jedi era.
The packaging stuff, yeah.
Like they had to be running out of green for the airbrushes because they had to do so much just fudgy stuff. And now that you look at it, you can tell they absolutely fudged it up and they fudged them out and they just did that kind of scrub tool trick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what's interesting, it's a similar technique that's applied, and this is getting into more the international territory, but so there was an alternate card photo art for the Tri logo, and then that was also used on the Lili Ledy card back in Mexico. But so this piece, it's a very, very funky piece of photo art. They took, and I actually own this. This is really making me start to feel old now. I had this probably in the mid 2000s, and I can't even remember. I know it's gone now.
What do you mean I had it?
I own this. I got this from Tom Nyheisel in the mid 2000s. The photo art, the alternate art.
You bought the alternate photo art for the ATST driver.
Yeah, it was right around the same time that I got the one for the B-wing pilot. They were two of the only ones that he had left. And I feel like it kind of the way it's actually produced on the Tri logo card and the Ledy card, it doesn't really do it justice. But if you look at the original, the full piece, it's funky and it doesn't really make all that much sense. But someone really did a lot of work painting a lot of little leaves around this pasted on model into this forest background. So it's not
a photograph of the forest.
Yes.
And then there's a photograph of the model of the ATST.
Yes.
And then that is like glued on?
It's glued, yeah. It's like inserted on with adhesive, and then around that there's additional hand painting of all the leaves. And so none of it matches. It doesn't look right at all. It doesn't look like a frame from the movie whatsoever. But I guess maybe the image of the vehicle pops a little bit more than just the regular photo.
It definitely does pop. It looks weird. It looks
weird. Yeah.
It doesn't really look like an ATST driver. I mean, an ATST looks more like a skull. I don't know. It looks like a chicken, but it looks like a chicken that's in trouble. It looks like an ill chicken.
Yes, an ill chicken stumbling through the forest. But
wow.
Yeah,
I would love to see that, Steve. Will you show it to me next time I'm in your collection room?
I can show you a really small digital photo from 2006.
Do you know who you sold it to?
I honestly can't remember.
Steve,
I have
you're
a
such
feeling.
A gangster.
No.
You're such a gangster. You sell photo art so often, you don't remember who you sell it to.
No, I have a feeling what it probably was. I was trying to get more B-wing pilot stuff, and I feel like I probably had either traded it or sold it to Broc, who then moved it somewhere else. But yeah, I remember, because at that point I was still collecting stuff for both of these figures quite heavily, and it got to the point where I'm like, I have to just choose one and really go with it. And I really did like this art. It's just a bizarre kind of remnant of the alternate Tri logo art process. But
yeah, I would really love to see it. Is it raised, the ATST? Like, can you tell that it's taped on? You can
tell. Yeah, you can tell that it's a separate component. And then the background, the forest floor, is actually a lot wider than what obviously they used for the image on the card back. It spreads out along the ground quite a bit more. It's just so bizarre that they really must have. Yeah, I don't know what they didn't like about the original, but they decided to go with something different for the stuff that was international.
Now, speaking of international, Steve, you didn't have this on your notes, but I have Jakub Brzezinski's book in front of me.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Primarily because I was like, Oh, well, cool. I mean, everybody knows that a lot of the Polish bootlegs used like the AT-ST driver limbs.
Yes.
But
yeah.
I don't think that's true, Steve. I think I got that all mixed up. It's the Biker Scout limbs.
There's a lot of, like weird AT-ST driver figures. So these are the head, but the limbs and the other stuff are from the other Imperial characters.
So that's what I was trying to remember. So I'm going to read to you about the unarticulated second set from page 175 of Jakub Brzezinski's Magisterial Far, Far Away.
Excellent.
The it's going to have some pronunciation going on here. The AT-ST driver figure was copied from a rare Biker Scout limb variant of Electrospodzelenia origin. Later generations of the movable figure were equipped mostly with these arms and legs, indicating these two lines of production influenced each other. The painting scheme, however, differed from the Electrospodzelenia or Evanplast. They were usually one color on the helmet and spaulders, and a second one on the goggles, with a few examples of painted gloves. Rubber colors included black and brown, the most popular, but there's also green, blue, gray, yellow figures, and there's one unique bright pink. There's also one known example, almost all white rubber. About 55 examples are known today, never being very popular among the collectors.
I can attest to that. Skye, I think I still have a few that I bought back then that I could never move. They're just in a box in the garage.
Are you serious?
I'm totally serious. I'm pretty sure. I used to carry this box of stuff to every California club meeting that I stuff I had for sale or for trade. And I feel like there was still one or two of those Polish AT-ST drivers that just never they just never moved on. So I got to dig those out.
Well, if you have a black one with red goggles, I'll take it, because that actually makes him look sort of badass. He looks kind of like
I'm pretty sure I something. Yeah, I don't know if I know I have a black one that has some red on it. I don't remember if it was the goggles. I'll take a look, but yeah. Yeah, they were definitely a lot of them. They were fun to collect, though. I mean, I remember when I was putting those together, there was quite a lot to choose from. So, yeah.
All that is to say, when you're trying to find AT-ST driver items, you run out quickly. There is not much. I mean, there's a lot of AT-ST stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Chewbacca stuff, if you want to count
there
him.
Is, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I will also say for the Tri-Logo art, I just want to read Chris Georgoulias's write-up, because...
See, this is what I was hoping you might catch.
Did you find that too? This is listen, we don't make fun of people very often on the show, and Chris Georgoulias listens to every show. He's a very faithful listener, and I thank that very much. He's about 3 years behind, which is cool, because every once in a while he'll text me out of nowhere and say, how did you not know that? And he'll be talking about, I don't know, Dengar. Okay, this is what he wrote on Tri-Logo figures are notorious for having different and sometimes worse photos than the U.S. issued figures. The different pictures are obvious here, but what's not apparent is the AT-ST on the Tri-Logo card contrasts highly with the forest background, resulting in what appears to be a bad special effects shot. But then again, I never said that was a bad thing, especially for variation hunters like myself. Grin.
Yeah, that's...
He wrote an emoji.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess he was a young guy. I don't know what it is, but just calling himself a variation hunter like myself.
Very, very early days of the archive.
Yes.
This is an earlier entry. I loved that. I really did. It did make me smile when I read that.
And it's a good reminder that even giants started small. So the fact that at some point Chris Georgoulias would refer to himself as a variation hunter with a grin emoji spelled out is just wonderful.
It is.
Unfortunately, all of my cheesy writing like that got erased when I forgot to keep the Chooseum going. So, Steve, you for the nugget from the archive. I gave myself some space to put in the nugget from the archive thing.
Yeah.
You talked about something that I wanted to talk about, but I took notes on it after you sent the outline. I'm like, Steve will never think about the PowerSparks. So I started doing research on that, and then there's two things that I do with your outlines, and not always connected. One, I receive them and open them, and then 2, I read them. Now that second one is not always high on my list. I figure if I say, you say, do you get it? I say, yeah, I got it. You didn't ask if I read it. So what do we want to say about the AT PowerSparks unproduced prototype, Steve? What are these things?
So this reminds me of something that I meant to bring up earlier as a behind the scenes thing, but and I'll touch on that in a second. But PowerSparks, it was this line that Kenner had in the mid '90s. There were only a couple of toys. It was basically you had one base vehicle that was this car. You had this kind of welding tool. You can build your car. You can destroy it. You can rebuild it, and it was meant as like an interactive type toy. And so at one point they had 2 things you could add to it to kind of spruce it up or make it interesting. So they had a Batman set that was like an add-on set. So you had some Batman paraphernalia, and then you also had a G.I. Joe style version of it. So they had those 2 properties that they had add-ons for these PowerSpark building welding toys. And
so they're welding toys. They're actual, like...
Yeah, it's so bizarre that to give children like a welder. Like, I'm just trying to... I haven't... There's a video, and I can mention this in this old... This is the old days of the blog, one of the first blog posts we did. But there's a video of Yehuda... using the ATST, so we'll get to that. But I can't imagine, a kid. I just imagine like them putting down one of those face shields and sparks flying everywhere, and like it doesn't seem safe for kids. But it's the '90s, so I don't know. Maybe it was fine.
Well, it's very cool. It's a very interesting idea. It's kind of like, I mean, Meccano, the licensee for Star Wars, also created the Erector set. Right. So in some ways there were toys that actually encouraged science,
encouraged science.
I guess to a certain extent Lego encourages some amount of thinking.
Some.
We all know my policy against any toy that makes you think. I think that toys should be used for putting on top of couches and then shooting them and then having them fall, and then before they hit the ground, you actually imitate a TV commercial saying, "What will happen next? Tune in next time," and then resume from that point. That's what toys are for.
The definition of a toy. Yeah.
Yes.
Now this required at least some thinking and then some manual labor skill to do. I would have been horrible at this. I'll tell you that right now. I would have just given up. But so in the mid '90s, Kenner's obviously they're gearing up to have a new Star Wars line, and they were prototyping 2 vehicles for this PowerSpark line. One was an X-wing, and then the other was an ATST. And so there are prototypes of these that exist, but they were never made. So I think there's like a half dozen first shots of each set, and then each of them has one surviving hard copy. But yeah, so Yehuda happens to have one of these sets, and he has a couple of the first shot figures. And the figure is what reminded me of the behind the scenes thing. So if you look, they made an ATST driver figure that really looks nothing like the character whatsoever.
Yes.
But what it does look almost exactly like, when they were making Return of the Jedi, they had 2 different sizes of the walkers for all the model shots. There was one that was a bit bigger, and inside of these models, just in case, when they were destroying them with logs or blowing them up, just in case they needed human, bodies to fly out, they put 2 little models of drivers in there. And according to Dennis Murin, they actually put little lead weights in them so that if they blew out of the cockpit, they would actually fall realistically. And I love that they were kind of rooting for these little bodies to come flying out of the walkers, but they never did. But there's a photo of the model maker. I think his name is Paul Houston, and you can see the 2 drivers. And to me, when I saw the PowerSpark ATST driver figure, I'm like, that looks just like those weird IOM models that were. There's no goggles, I don't think. The helmet doesn't look right. It's just so strange looking. But yeah, so there's a little write up on the blog from 2014 that kind of goes through these, and some fun videos of Yehuda swiveling the ATST's head. That's all it did. So I think that was the difference with the Star Wars ones. It was meant the PowerSpark tool or whatever. The gun actually was supposed to activate some moving part in the Star Wars vehicle. So
it wasn't quite a welding toy.
Not quite with the Star Wars ones. The same basic mechanism, but it was meant to make, for the walker's case, the head would swivel from left to right. So not all that exciting. But yeah, it's just kind of a cool little piece of Star Wars toy history that's right in the middle of the vintage and the modern era. It's right at the cusp of that. And yeah, I figured, like you said, there's not a whole lot of ATST driver stuff out there. I figured there's probably a good time as any to bring this up again. Now that it's been.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
This ATST driver looks a lot like the Death Squad Commander.
Yes, yeah, the kind of domed helmet looks way more like the Death Squad Commander, which also looks nothing like the on-screen character.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. This is. It's funny because I've slept in the room with these prototypes many times, and Yehuda's explained this to me many times, and I've just never found my way to care about it. It's just because it's right next to the photo sample of Han Solo from the Fruit Loops box.
The Fruit Loops Han. Yeah.
That's just so devastating to me. But
it is.
Yeah, these things are really cool, unproduced toys. I'm even more amazed that we had a blog back in 2014.
Yeah.
Was this our first? Was this like the first blog?
It was one of the first. I think we launched it in August of 2014, and I think I remember Yehuda writing to me about this, saying, "Hey, would you mind putting a post together about this? I can check, send you video." And then I completely forgot about it until looking up stuff for the show. I'm like, oh yeah, I did put that together all those years ago.
And can I also say, Steve, do you know what number podcast we were at when you started the blog?
I think it was in the 60s.
It's 54.
54.
Yes.
Wow.
The year of the archive begins. Archivecast 54.
Oh, that was wow. That's a trip. That's bizarre.
Time is no one's enemy, Steve. So that was our group. That was our group nugget from the archive. It really is. Yeah. You know what? That's the nugget from the blog archive. We've now reached the point where we have to highlight things that we did. No longer is it about the greatness that Todd and Chris Nichols and John Wooten and Steve York and Gus Lopez and all the great people before us, Steve. Now it's us. Stuff that we've done we have to talk about.
Yeah, and to be fair, I basically just repackaged the database entry.
Okay.
It existed. It's basically all that information just presented in a new way with some really small videos.
Okay, then we're the shoulders on the giants that started small. That started small. Even giants started small, and we're on those shoulders. So and now we're looking back. It's a retrospective of us standing on someone else's shoulders.
Yeah. There's layers. Yeah, we're. Oh, we'll see how much more we can get out of this. I don't know.
Well, how much more can we get out of the ATST driver?
Yeah,
Steve,
there's some.
We're gonna have an unloved right here, but I'm gonna throw you an extra unloved. So so we got 3 unloved items.
I like
4. No. You know what we're not gonna do? We're gonna do interruption.
Okay.
An interruption, Steve. You don't know about this.
No.
But I found something while looking around, and it's the most Gus thing that ever Gused. Okay? So, I found this on the archive while looking up, right? It's a fairly standard thing that I do, which is I just, look up stuff on the archive with our figure. So this is called a Return of the Jedi Decode Game and Disc.
Oh, I feel like I remember coming across this. Okay, what is it?
It is a circular disc with the image of Chewbacca in the ATST, the one that would become the image of the ATST driver. And it says underneath, Chewbacca captures ATST Walker.
Yes, that's right.
I just contacted Gus. I just said, hey, Gus, do you have anything to say about this? Figuring, maybe he'd respond, maybe not. He's a super busy guy, and so I'm not going to expect a huge response or anything from him. But then I saw the licensee, Steve. The licensee is Kellogg's. So that means if you want to get a good long response from Gus, you don't ask him about a prop. You ask him about something to do with cereal. So this is what he says.
Yeah.
These are premiums from an Australian cereal promotion by Kellogg's for Return of the Jedi on boxes of cornflakes and rice bubbles. A version of Rice Krispies.
Yeah.
Rice bubbles.
I see. I'm glad you did it. I was like, do I have to do this? Good. Thanks for taking care of that.
It's tough to find these sealed in the plastic sleeves, since each one of them had the potential for scratch-off instant prizes and Tolstoy toys.
Ooh.
Well, he wrote Tolstoy toys. I assume. I am going to assume that was an autocorrect, right? And that we're not having Anna Karenina toys. We're not having War and Peace toys. Star Wars and Star Peace toys. Okay. I would go for 11 figure. I'm just saying. Okay. There's a piece you tear off to send in your claim for the prize or to enter the sweepstakes. So some of the open decoder discs have that peeled off along the perforation. Once rubbed off, you use the message decoder on the back of the cereal box as a Rosetta Stone to figure out which Return of the Jedi character name is encoded. If it is matched with one of the characters listed on the back of the box, you've won an instant prize. A Kenner Tolstoy's toy.
Tolstoy.
Yes, a Tolstoy toy.
Wow.
So then he sent me a link to what the image looks like, to what the Rice Bubbles box looks like. It's really far out. I'll have it in the enhanced version. There is one of the decoders is just a B-wing flying away from the explosion. That image.
Oh boy!
We gotta track that down. Another one is what appears to be Han Solo in the cantina when he's saying "You've never heard of the Millennium Falcon?"
Yeah.
Talking to C-3PO, who obviously wasn't allowed in there. Now, maybe I just can't see. This image is a little bit low res. So maybe this is an image from Endor where C-3PO is... where Han's asking C-3PO to get their weapons back.
Right.
Either way, there's not a lot of images with C-3PO and Han together.
True, yeah.
So, yeah, they have all these little decoded things on the back, and you could figure out how to win. They have a great image of these kids on the back. We can send secret messages to our friends. And there's this whole decoder on the back. And it's a really interesting and unheard of. I had never heard of this decoder thing. So you had, Steve?
No, I hadn't heard of it. I remember doing exactly what you did and just scrolling through the archive trying to pick out things. And it just is. It's the lesson of if something on the archive looks kind of obscure, it may not seem all that interesting on the surface. Just ask somebody, and there's probably some crazy story behind it, like you did. That is really cool to hear.
And then
there's so much more there.
So it seemed like a really cool game. This is the kind of thing, decoder stuff for me. Boy, I'm super nostalgic today. Remember when things were good? Remember when things were simple in the past, Steve? It really that was super fun to me. This really looks like a great thing. So
yeah, I'm so glad that you asked him. I mean, it pretty much that blows out any of the other unloved things I brought up. But
yes,
no, that's.
Well, I have another. So we're going to do a whole unloved thing, or I start off with a good unloved, then I'm going to end with a good unloved. But what are the two unloves that you're bringing to the table, Steve?
All right, so mine they're fairly boring, but the one thing I liked about this first one, this is it's a set of pajamas that has, we've talked about this many times, but for Return of the Jedi, they had this kind of common set of line art that was basically used on everything. And there is one image of the Walker with Chewbacca. He looks more almost like a sloth or an orangutan. He's got that kind of posture on. It doesn't look very Chewie-ish to me. It looks more like an ape, like a great ape.
Yes.
But what I thought was funny about this particular instance of this, you'll see this on its own on just about everything. But for this set of pajamas, the imagery has Chewbacca or his orangutan self leading a charge of biker scouts below, on bikes. So to me, it looks like Chewbacca's on the offensive. He's turned.
Right.
And he's leading a charge. He's going. Yeah, right. And so I had not seen this particular composition of Chewie in the walker with bad guys kind of, not opposing each other, but actually like going the same direction in the battle. So that was one thing, and this is from Wilker, I think.
Yeah,
Wilker
Bros. Which again, just click on the archive. Wilker Bros.
Yes.
How many items do you think there are from Wilker Bros, Steve?
So too many.
So many. There's so many pajama related things. There is original pajama artwork on here.
Oh man, yeah.
It's devastating.
It is. Yeah, if you just click on a licensee, you can be lost for days. This is another example. But yeah, so that was the first one. Some cool pajamas where Chewie has turned, he's gone bad, and he's taken the walker and his scouts. He really is the commander, right? So you got
he's the ATSD commander leading the biker scouts that he threw out of the ATSD, according to my storyboard.
Yeah. Okay. So the next one is a model kit from MPC. It's in this line of things called Mirr-a-Kits, which I guess is supposed to be some kind of play on words of mirror and miracle, and I don't know. They're bizarre.
Okay.
And they're not miracles whatsoever. But so what these things were, I honestly can't figure out what they are. But there were a set of, I think, 6 of them for Return of the Jedi. They look like little paperweights. The packaging just says the fun new mirror models. Hang them or stand them anywhere. Collect all 6, and they just have small images of the ships. So you have the ATSC is one of them, and then you have some other Jedi ships. And I think most of these, I'm not sure where the imagery comes from exactly. They look a little different, not quite like the standard stuff you see. But what I liked about this is that the box image, the box art, I'm fairly certain this is the same model shot from that tri-logo art that we were talking about, but just flipped. It's the same, and obviously they tilted it a little bit for the tri-logo, but I'm pretty sure if you just cut that out and just laid it right over this, it would be the identical standard. I'm sure they just used this picture of the model for everything. It's probably even the basis of the line art that they used everywhere.
I still don't understand what the hell a Mirr-a-Kit is, Steve.
I couldn't. I was hoping you could maybe try and explain it to me.
I'm looking at it.
No idea.
The fun new mirror models? Hang them or stand them anywhere? Easy. They just look like a picture.
Mirror, where's the mirror?
Kits. Like, where's the kit? What do you actually do?
It just says easy snap assembly. I have no idea.
Okay, here's from the model kit, StarWarsModels.com. Okay. I don't know who this is, but here's what they say. These Mirr-a-Kits are a perplexing piece. What it is... Okay, I need some editing here, it's fine. Whoever you are, thank you for making this site. What it is a small a small half kit that you mount onto a small sheet of reflective mylar.
Oh.
Okay.
Huh. Okay, that
Why
still doesn't help
NBC
me.
did this is beyond me. These kits were quick and fun. It took a few minutes to paint and then just seconds to snap them onto the backing. Unfortunately, they don't fit too well on, and there's a slight seam between the kit and the backing. The ATST was only 3 pieces for the actual kit: the head and the gun and the side leg. The kit cost me about $5 on eBay, in a lot of them. Okay, it's like this. It's pretty cool looking, actually. It's like a 3D bar. Oh, okay, I got it, Steve.
All right,
okay.
Please explain. I'm starting to formulate something, but
So it's a very small, mirrored, mirror, a mirror sticker that you put onto a piece of plastic.
Okay.
You then put
half of the walker on it.
Okay. And then the mirror gives it a 3D effect.
There you go. What a miracle.
So it is actually... So it does look like it's kind of walking, like it's a 3D thing.
Okay, got it.
So there's...
I'm picturing like the same size as the old Micro Machine, that little ATSC. I wonder how big this thing is.
Wait, I think I can tell you that, because they have it here. It is 3 inches wide, 3 inches high, and then
a little bigger than
11 yards deep. I can't. Oh wait, I just downloaded the instructions. Oh my god, this is awesome. I have the the instructions are just like, there's just basically nothing. Oh, and it comes with a clip. So there's actually
you can clip it to your
so you can clip it
desk
and it would I actually sort of want these things, Steve.
If they're still $5 on eBay, I think I'm gonna have to pick one up. It's too bad that
I still got the turn on game upstairs, and nobody in my family.
Speaking of cursed objects, I hope no one's opened that.
No. But yeah, if you look at the Mirr-a-Kit on the archive, like there were a bunch of Mirr-a-Kits. There was a TIE Interceptor Mirr-a-Kit.
Yeah.
And there's not many TIE Interceptor items. There was a Shuttle Tidarium Mirr-a-Kit, an ATST, and a Y-Wing, and an X-Wing. Wow, Steve. Yeah. So that's all of the interesting and important ships in Return of the Jedi.
All of them.
All of them. X, Y, and Shuttle Tidarium. Wow. Yeah.
See, if I was still collecting ATST driver stuff, who knows? I would have been going down the Mirr-a-Kit.
What a truly unloved item that is, and I definitely want one.
Yeah.
That's another thing that used to blow my mind was tricks with mirrors. Like when you were a kid, did anyone ever do that with a full-length mirror where they would go on the side of it and make it look like they were a full person, like they move their arm and legs? That blew my mind. I was like, what? How you're floating? How are you doing that?
Oh, yeah, these are for you then. I think you gotta, if you had to pick a favorite, I guess you gotta go with the ATST. I don't know, because it's Chewie's vehicle.
Maybe, but then the Tidarium is also a very handsome one. That's true. That's represented so infrequently.
True.
Yeah, how do you even pick? Oh, there's a speeder bike as well.
Yeah, there's a speeder bike. Yeah.
It's a really neat idea.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, the unloved item.
How are you gonna?
I'm going to drop on you. There's actually I have 2 more, Steve, because we're getting modern. Now that I'm listening to prototypes to production, I'm getting into modern stuff more. There is a micro machine that is the ATST with an ATST driver on a card. So it's not part of a set. It's like a little carded thing of the ATST with a little driver, and that's cool because it says Imperial ATST parentheses Chicken Walker. Did you call them Chicken Walkers as a kid?
Okay, so I'm trying to figure out if this is an implanted memory or if it's something I actually did. I feel like if you'd asked me years ago, I would have said, yeah, I did just call them Chicken Walkers. I have no idea where I got the term because no other kids I was friends with like Star Wars at all. I have no idea where it came from.
I just called them ATSTs. I never thought of them as Chicken Walkers. I like that idea never came to me until I was a collector.
Yeah, the Chicken Walker thing was definitely a childhood thing for me. So I don't know. It's bizarre, but in like the books and things like the Rinsler book, the production people referred to them as Chicken Walkers. They did at the time, so it's not. I feel like it is an idea that's been around from the beginning, at least for some people. Yeah. But yeah,
it's like how they when they were filming the original Star Wars, they called stormtroopers Troopies. Yeah,
and it's so called the AT-ATs Catwalkers. Right. My brother and I did actually do that.
Really?
We called them. Yeah, we thought they were like cats.
That's funny.
Whatever. Yeah.
And then the ATST driver is referred to as Imperial Driver. So he's not even an ATST driver here.
No. This is getting back to we just need a guy in a costume that's Imperial. He's the Imperial driver.
And then what I think is the most slept on line in all Star Wars fandom is the Tactics line, which we've talked about from 2005. I have maybe 100 Tactics.
That's right.
There was a game that existed. Now it's funny because the way you described the ATST driver and the way it existed in the PowerSpark thing. It reminded me of the crash test dummies.
Yes,
And
absolutely. Yeah.
so in the early 90s, a Toys R Us opened up. So, little tangent here. I grew up in a town called Belmont, Massachusetts, voted the most boring town in Massachusetts by Boston Globe. And there's a lot of boring towns in Massachusetts. So I lived there, and the closest Toys R Us was in a town called Woburn, which some people would call Woburn. And Woburn was like maybe 25 minutes away, which for my parents was it might as well be the Alps, okay? Like, we were not going to go all the way to Woburn to get to a Toys R Us. Now, much later, there's a 7-Eleven there that Eric Bogosian would make an entire movie about called Suburbia, and we used to go to that 7-Eleven all the time. Actually, for one Thanksgiving dinner, I ate a Big Bite hot dog, spicy Big Bite hot dog, at that 7-Eleven.
Spicy bite, yes.
That was my Thanksgiving dinner as probably junior year of high school. So that Toys R Us was always far away, so we couldn't really get there. Like, I convinced my parents to go there to get a Nintendo, and I got a Nintendo, and they didn't have Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, so I got Kung Fu instead. Another great game, but still not Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. So when a Toys R Us opened in Fresh Pond, which is in Cambridge, which is like 5-10 minutes away, my friends and I started going there all the time. But my friends and I, we didn't do drugs, so we just did nothing, like played video games and goofed around. One time we went there, and we bought a whole bunch of crash test dummies and played with them. As teenagers, 15, 16 years old, don't care, super fun. And then we had this other game called Crossbows and Catapults. Now, if I haven't freaked out the nostalgia hounds for the ninja stuff, Crossbows and Catapults, Steve, I still to this day, it's like a fever dream. It was like the most fun I've ever had playing a game. It's like this game where you have these little plastic like discs, and you try to destroy other people's castles, and they're actual projectiles, and you can either use a catapult or a crossbow, or I guess maybe just there must have been some other things as well. And you set it up, and it's like a cross between like a video game and Dungeons and Dragons. And a Tactics is the closest thing I ever felt that way to Star Wars. A Tactics is a game where you have these little representations of Star Wars characters. Yeah. And they can move a certain amount, and there's a certain amount of strategy involved. But then you have to execute. You have to shoot these projectiles or have the melee weapon. And one of the most fun things about the Tactics line is how far out they went with what characters they have. There's an entire Nemoidian army in a Tactics. Oh, man. And when you see the Nemoidians... So it's one of my favorite things to do in the game because, I'm a lot better at it than my kids, or at least I used to be. So as a way to handicap myself, I'd be like, I'm the Nemoidians. Yeah. So I'd set up an army of the Nemoidians and the Wookiees versus, they'd get to be all the troopers and Jedis. Yeah, And so there is an ATST driver of Tactics. And it's hilarious because it's an ATST driver with a gigantic gun on his shoulder. And he's sitting there and he's in an action pose. And it feels like in 2006 or 7 when they released it. It was in the fourth wave. Eventually, I'm going to get into really collecting Tactics. If you're listening to the sound of my voice and you want me to spend some of the money I just made, hit me up.
It sounds like that's a very good avenue for you to drive on down, Skye.
Because I still have a toolbox filled with Tactics. And maybe once or twice a year, I'll play with my kids because it's so much fun to play these Star Wars characters and write the stories and be like, "Oh, the Nemoidians are coming." So that's awesome. So that's my unloved item, Steve. You thought that I couldn't talk about the ATST driver?
Yeah, no. It's been great. It's been fun. I mean, we got. So I guess we don't have a contestant for you. For a market watch, we can just do the good old Skye guessing game if you want.
Sounds good. Within 10% of the final cost. That's how we should.
10%. All right, I like that. All right.
It's a little bit of math involved, but shouldn't be too hard.
Yeah, you might not. Yeah, we'll see. Okay, so I picked 5 things. The first is a carded Power of the Force ATST driver. It's not graded. This is probably the exact way I got this figure. It's got the KB 199 / price sticker on it.
Okay.
It's got the coin. It's not graded, but it's in pretty good shape. I think that's all about I could say.
And it was produced.
It was produced. Yep, definitely had a lot of these.
And it's not graded.
Not graded, no.
Okay, I'm gonna say $75.
$295.
So it's a rare one then.
No, not at least as far as I know. I don't think these are that rare. But I think it's because it has a pretty clear bubble. I guess I should have made that.
Oh, you didn't say the clear bubble, Steve. Well,
it's not perfect, but yeah.
Okay, well, 10% of 295 is okay.
$29.50.
I'm not quite there. Now, is there a funny coin copy for ATST driver?
It's not that funny, but it's pretty. Here, I'll read it to you because that happens to be the next item, Skye. It's a Power of the Force coin. So the copy on the back reads, "Driver of the dreaded Scout Walker used in battle against rebels and Ewoks on Endor." That's it.
Okay, not too much.
Yeah, so not too much.
I like the use of the word dreaded. That's good.
Yeah, dreaded's good. That's probably the best you got in this. And they were using the actual toy product name on the back here, Scout Walker versus ATST. And then it's I have like a bag. My mom had given me a bag full of my old Power of the Force coins that were just completely. They look like they'd been at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. They were just completely destroyed. But in there were like 5 of these ATST driver coins. So don't let that skew you too much.
Oh, don't let that skew me. I'm getting skewed.
So what do you think? It's a category 2, which means it's not one of the Power of the Force characters that was produced, but it's one of the other line characters that was produced with a coin. So not very not very rare.
I'm going to say $50.
Ooh, okay, $57.88. You're a lot closer.
10%? That's still not within 10%. God damn it.
Closer.
Okay,
closer.
Can we say 10% or $10?
Yeah, let's go with that.
Okay, because.
So yeah, we'll give you that one. You got one point.
Okay.
All right. This next one, I don't think we talked about these in a while. So this is a Return of the Jedi 77 back ATST driver from Australia that has the Australian coin offer sticker on the front. So a little background on these. These stickers, they were advertised. These are actually advertising an in-store coin premium that was exclusive to Australia. So the customers would come in, they'd buy a figure that had the sticker on it, and they would receive a Power of the Force coin. So they didn't. That's we've talked about how rare the actual Power of the Force figures from Australia are. This is just more of a thing where they have a bunch of Jedi figures, they have a bunch of coins,
right.
They slap stickers there to just get rid of the coins. The sticker is pretty plain. It's just black and yellow text. And the thing that's interesting, I think a while back, it was thought that they were really local to one region of Australia or one store chain, but they have since shown up from other parts of the country, from other toy store chains. So they were around Australia at the time, which is I don't know. I think that's interesting. The funny thing is, though, I guess the way that the coins and the stickers were sent to the retailers in Australia by Kenner was inside of Trivial Pursuit question card boxes.
Really?
Yeah. So that's a really obscure detail from an entry on the archive with the old marble background from Ron. So and that came from another Australian collector, I think, that supplied that information. But yeah, I love the idea of the Australian toy store guy getting this crate full of Trivial Pursuit question card boxes full of coins and stickers to slap on his Return of the Jedi loaner figures. But anyway, so yeah, there's an ATST driver. The figure was sold from Australia. I had never seen this particular figure with that sticker on there. But yeah. So what do you think? What does that
sticker do to something? I don't know. This might be 10% as opposed to $10.
Yeah.
I'm going to say $1,700.
Okay, $182. So 250 Australian, 182 US dollars.
Oh well, so in US dollars, I'm basically there.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah. I feel like this is probably. I'm guessing someone got a pretty good steal on this. It's. I don't know. I think it's pretty cool.
Or maybe those Australian stickers are more common than we think.
That could also be the case. But anyway, yeah. So sorry you don't get that one, but we got to hear a little bit about the coin offer and the Trivial Pursuit boxes.
Yeah, very cool.
All right, so we've got two more. The next, so we've talked a lot about kind of model kits or building toys, and they're all centered around the walker. So what this is, it's another weird model from MPC. This one's from 1984, and it's from a line called Structors Action Walkers. And it sounds way more exciting than it really is, but it's basically a model kit that you put together that has a little wind-up mechanism so the figure or the walker would walk. The box, it looks very bizarre. It almost looks more like it looks nothing like the Mirr-a-Kit box art or the other kind of standard Return of the Jedi silver and red. It's quite different. It's got like a dark blue background. The walker itself looks really nothing like the actual ATSC, aside from it has a box head and two legs. It doesn't look anything like it at all. It's just got one single window. It's a funky little walking model that MPC put out in 1984, and they also, like the others, they did a few other Star Wars ships. So they did it's funny. The back of this box, it advertises the Mirr-a-Kits, so it's right around the same time.
Okay.
And it has, they also did an AT-AT that walked, and they did a terrifying C-3PO that walked. The 3PO is the one I think I would go for if I was going to get one of these. Anyway, what do you think a weird little walking ATSD walker NPC model kit went for?
$30.
$20.99.
I'm within $10.
Yeah, you're there.
All right. Wait, I'm 2 for 4.
Yeah.
I could actually win this.
You could win.
As long as the next one isn't too difficult, I should be just fine.
All right. So the last thing. What do you think a pile of 26 loose ATSD drivers would sell for?
26.
26. Not 25, not 27, 26 ATSD drivers.
$110.
And 152.
10% of 152 is 15.
Yeah.
So 152 minus 15 is 130. And I said 110. Okay.
Yeah.
So then
one
second.
Going.
Then you add that to the 110, the 15, the 10%, the 15 to that makes it 125, which is within $10. Hello, I win.
You win. We all win, Skye. Yeah. So yeah, a little mini army of ATSG drivers, 152.
Wow.
$152.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, we did it, Steve. We somehow managed to talk an hour and a half about ATSG drivers with no guests.
I haven't
even hit stop. I might not even just throw anything into this video. I might just throw this puppy up there,
Yeah, and I'm picturing, with it just being the two of us, we took the two ATSG drivers, we chucked them out, and it's just Chewbacca and Swinga, taking on the walker. I don't know where we're going. I don't know if we're going to Thanksgiving feast or whatnot, but it was we got through that. I'm surprised. I didn't think we'd make it.
Wampa Wampa.
Adios.